of us, and we're all older. She's our baby sister. And the first three tables up here are family. So we want to thank you for coming and joining us for this celebration of Gweneviere's life, and joining us in sending her positive prayers and loving thoughts in her next transition. So can I just have everybody close your eyes for a minute so I could just say a little prayer to start with? Heavenly Father, we ask that you be with us and give us the strength of spirit to pass beyond sorrow in this time of loss. When we feel weak and in pain, help us to rest. When we feel anxious, help us to wait. When we feel fearful, help us to trust. When we feel lonely, help us to love. When we place you apart from us, help us to know you are near. Surround us with your love and guide us to peace of mind and understanding. Amen. Even though Gwen is not physically here with us, if you just take a deep breath and center yourself, you can still feel her presence. It is easy to still hear Gwen's boisterous laughter, and we can't help but still hear her singing in our heads. Her adventurous spirit and her riveting stories, whether it was about a random person she passed on the streets of New York, or one of her wild travel stories, she painted new perspectives in our lives, gifting us with so many beautiful and captivating memories. But what fills our hearts even more deeply is the kindness, love, and acceptance she offered each one of us, especially when we needed it most. Gwen had a way of always uplifting you. Gwen has a huge heart. Her ability to give so much love to so many people and to receive love back in that magnitude is proof. Gwen is a stellar example of how to take life in your hands and make it what you want, regardless of any challenges. She had every excuse to do less, but she always chose to do her best. She succeeded in everything and then surpassed those goals too. Exceptional. Gwen ceased to amaze everyone. Each experience you have all had with Gwen is included in your record of your own life. She is part of you, as you are part of her. Your personal connection with Gwen lives on forever. Let's take some time to share thoughts and special moments and memories. So we'll start with Gweneviere's family, and then as time permits, we'll open and invite anybody up that would like to say a few words, to share any stories or memories. And if we can keep it sort of brief, just to make sure that if whoever wants to come up can. So we're going to start with Gweneviere's mother, Daisy, to come up and say a few words.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being here. And I'd like to thank our Father in heaven for giving us this opportunity to get together and remember Gweneviere, who is now with him. Once upon a time, there was this little girl, and she came running into the kitchen where her mother was preparing a meal. And she went up to her mom and said, "Mommy," says, "we've got to go to the hospital and get a baby." And she says, "The hospital of what?" She said, "We need to go and get a baby. And so we got to go to the hospital. Let's go to the hospital." And the mommy was thinking, "Dear Lord, do I have to teach her about the birds and the bees at age 4? So anyway, she said, "Well, we can't just go to the hospital to get a baby." And she said, well, why not? So Mommy explained a few things to her in 4-year-old language, you know, like, your daddy and I are not together again. We're not together now, and they have to have a mommy and a daddy to get the baby. And so she says, oh, but we have to go get one from the hospital. And she said, well, we can't. And so the mommy said, why do you want to get a baby? Because I need someone to boss around. That was Gweneviere's entrance to life as a stand-up comedian. She's always like that, all to the very end. And it's just so amazing that this child, who has suffered several things in her life that if it was I don't know if I could handle the way she has. She went through a brain tumor operation and came out of it, and all we did when we got together was laugh. Because I've lost my memory too, but I don't have an excuse. And I tell her, you have an excuse, but I don't have an excuse, and I don't know what to do about this. So she suggested I go see a doctor. That was Gweneviere. That was Gweneviere all the way to the very end. She worked with her music until she composed her own music. She was just her music, which is, I don't know how you feel about music, but music is very, very emotional. It speaks of how you feel inside. And when you sing or play an instrument or however you do your music, listen to it, that's what Gweneviere is. And she's still that way because she's still here. I talk to her often and she tells me she's happy. So I understand that people are kind and they come to me and say, I am happy. I'm sorry for your loss. And I can't understand that because I don't feel I lost her. I don't feel I lost her. She's just gone on vacation and I'll see her again. And who knows, maybe sooner than later, because I am 83 years old and I don't know why I'm still here. I mean, you know, like yesterday was Gweneviere's birthday, her 48th birthday. So we had a little bit of celebration on our own. So I know I will miss her being here with me physically. Someone I could pick up the phone. But actually, I found that just speaking to her, because she is around, is much faster and cheaper than using a telephone. So, you know, she's happy. She tells me she's happy. She's been with her loved ones up there, her uncles. She got 2 uncles up there, and other members of the family and friends that have gone before. And she's where she's supposed to be. And she has entered, she did not die. She entered the door into the life that we all will eventually get, and that is eternal life. So she was born back into eternal life. And one day, we will all meet her again. That is Gweneviere. That's my baby. She's my baby. I called her my baby since she was born. And when she was a teenager, she asked me to stop calling her baby. But then when she got old, you know, like 30 or 40, she said it's okay, I could call her baby. But whatever. So, Gweneviere, till we meet again, we love you. And we know we can talk to you anytime we want. And we know if we listen hard, we can hear with our spiritual ears that you are there and what you say. We know that you play tricks on us. And we always say that's Gweneviere with her uncle Domingo, the two most righteous children on this earth. But anyway, I want to thank you all again. And I thank our God that we are here to receive our bodies and that we will eternally be with him again. Thank you.
Gretchen? Yes.
Debate as to who is the middle sister. Is it me, the middle sister of 5 girls, being 7 years younger and 7 years older than the oldest and youngest sister? Or is it both Cindy and I in the middle sisters of 6 siblings, including my brother? In either case, Gwen was always the baby sister. When Gwen was young, a mere 5 or 6 years old, the 2 older sisters, Cindy and Daisy Marie, used to love to make her dance the robot for them so that they could laugh at her. As a teen, Cindy used to love to torture her in funny ways, like locking her in a very large walk-in closet and making her sing Ben by the Jackson 5 over and over again, until she sang it completely through with no mistakes. I, of course, was an innocent bystander in all of that, but it probably didn't help that we intentionally slid things under the door to startle Gwen, making her scream or laugh uncontrollably, inevitably making it so that she had to start singing the song from the beginning again and again. I don't know how long it took, but it seemed like she was in there a very long time before she sang the song completely through without messing up and was finally let out. When Gwen was around 14, I would meet her first sister friend, Patty. Gwen and Patty would babysit my eldest, Damien, when he was little. All of the sisters knew Patty, who fit seamlessly into our family sisterhood, along with Kelly, who was often around during this time in Gwen's life. I imagine the 3 of them having young teenage adventures that I'm sure I don't know the half of and probably shouldn't. These relationships continued throughout Gwen's adult life, hanging with Kelly when she was in town and Patty coming down from her mountain home to attend family parties when Gwen was in town. In her later teens, when she was still living in Santa Rosa, I met 2 more of her sister friends, Julie and Marissa. It started out as visiting, but when Gwen moved in with me and my boys briefly, the 3 amigas would hang out at my apartment when they were in the city. These women are as beautiful on the inside as they are on the outside, and it was and still is very apparent that they loved Gwen to the ends of the earth. During this time, my youngest son, Stephen, was about 3 years old when he told Julie he loved her while burying his face in her chest and hugging her hard as he could. I'm so happy that all of Gwen's sisterhood of friends from her younger years are here to celebrate her life with us today. But I don't think Stephen will be greeting Julie in much the same way now that he's 32. When I moved to Walnut Creek to raise my boys, I didn't see Gwen as much outside of family get-togethers, though she did hang out with Cindy and Kathleen often, and me occasionally when I would come to the city without the kids. I could tell you a story or 2 about the crazy, memorable adventures as young adults Cindy, Gwen, and I had, but suffice it to say, there was always some fiasco or debacle happening, followed by laughter. And the reality is that some things are better left unsaid. Family events were always a fun time, full of laughter, talking to each other, and silliness. Gwen celebrated her family, their birthdays, going away parties, weddings, pregnancies, childbirth, and achievements, both collectively and individually. She came to both baby showers and Davy and Stephen's baptisms into the Catholic Church a few months after the birth in the 80s, then their first communions when they were each in 2nd grade in the early 90s. Attended Damien's middle school band performance when he played the clarinet to support his love of music. In the mid-90s, my wedding in 2004. Any life event that was celebrated, you'd find her present. Always supportive of each one of us separately and together in her family. I am grateful that on several occasions after Gwen moved to New York, when visiting California, she was able to spend time with my nucleus. her nephews, Damien and Stephen, who she watched grow up, as well as Mandy, Damien's wife, and I feel extremely thankful that she was able to meet her great niece and nephew, Sienna and Dante. As she moved into her musician phase, I would say our lives didn't really intersect very much, except at family events. I was raising my boys in Walnut Creek, and she was pursuing her music career in San Francisco. However, she maintained her close relationship with Cindy, and it seemed to me developed an even closer relationship with Daisy Marie. Both big sisters who consistently showed up at her music gigs and supported her. As the years progressed, Gwen's music career, her travels, and even after having moved to New York, you would often find Daisy Marie there cheering her on, celebrating all her achievements, adventures, and dare I say, misadventures, every step of the way. When Gwen was diagnosed with her brain tumor and subsequent emergency surgery, I flew to New York. This would be my first time to New York to visit her since she moved there, as well as the first time I met Gwen's sister friend, Elaine, who is not here. Gwen even told the doctors that Elaine was her sister, so she'd be allowed to in ICU after surgery. Elaine certainly was a blessing for Gwen in her life. Had it not been for the care and love Gwen received from her now husband, Yasser, and in part from Elaine, I don't know that she would have recovered as wonderfully as she did. None of the sisters lived anywhere near New York and could be present every day for Gwen like Elaine was, because we had families and obligations 1,000 miles away. This would be the first but not the last time Elaine would put her life on hold for Gwen to help take care of her. I am so grateful and thankful to know that Gwen had made yet another true sister friend in Elaine. My next visit following her surgery, Gwen told me, "It took me having a brain tumor to get you to come and visit me." I said, "You're right, I hate New York." But I was also secretly thinking of a visit Daisy Marie told me details about when on one of her visits, she and Gwen and a few of Gwen's friends went to a Turkish bathhouse. The thought of it grossed me out. I'm really not much of a group activity person, and I was afraid Gwen would suggest that we go there when I visited, thinking, I guess that's the kind of stuff they do in New York. But thankfully, she never did. She knew me well enough to know that I couldn't handle the group thing or the nakedness of it all. And once again, the tides changed. My kids were grown, I was going through a divorce, and during this time, I continued to visit Gwen every year for 10 years, except 2017, when my work schedule couldn't sync with she and Yasser's marathon schedule. During all of my visits, it was mostly just she and I hanging out, waking up and doing whatever we felt like on any given day. There were never any group activities planned for me, and I feel like that was by design. I feel like Gwen knew each of her sisters well enough to know what each of us might enjoy, and she knew for me it was the one-on-one time with her that was meaningful. Sisterhood. Gwen had many sisters, those she was born with, those who came into her life through marriage, those through friendships. Sisters don't have to be defined as those who are born or adopted into a family or brought into a family through marriage. Sisters can be friends, the kind of friends you tell your secrets to, the kind of friends that celebrate your achievements and lift you up when you are down, the kind of friends that step in and step up for you, advocate for you, and love and support you, even if they disagree with you. Like many relationships, sister relationships may ebb and flow during different phases in your life. And while I say I am one of Gwen's closest sisters, the truth is I am just one of many. Gwen was closest with all her sisters, biological, by marriage, or through friendship. Gwen had a way of making you feel like you were the most important person to her when you were with her and even when you weren't. I truly believe that we, all her sisters, were each the most important person to her, each in our own unique way. Gwen loved us all, regardless of who she saw or didn't see at any different points in her life. For me, the loss of my sister has been devastating. I don't know what to do except to try to keep busy and distracted to avoid thinking about it. I find myself speaking in present tense about her, subconsciously in denial. I don't know how to reconcile my heart that there will be no more tomorrows with her, that I will never see my baby sister in this life again. And I don't feel comfort in those who say she's in a better place because I am selfish. Her loss has left a huge gaping hole in my heart and in my family. I only find a small measure of solace knowing that when I die, I will see her again. I believe that Gwen would want us to think of her with no regrets. She would want us to know in our heart of hearts that she loved us, that she always has and always will. I don't know how to stop the tears, but I do know when I think of Gwen, I will always feel her love
even though she is no longer with us in physical form. I know she will always be with us in spirit, and hopefully a little bit of her spirit will live through each and every one of us until the end of our days. Gwen, I love you, bird. I miss you terribly, but I am so grateful that I had you in my life for as long as I did. I hope you are joyful, laughing, and singing in heaven with all those we love who left before you. Know that I love you forever and always, infinity, infinity plus one. Until I see you again, love your big sister, Gretchen.
I want to invite up Melissa, who is Gwen's niece. So many, I was like, I don't even know what to say because there's just too many, but I will mention that after she had her brain surgery, a little over a year, she came with me to Egypt. And Egypt's one of my loves, one of my passions, my second home. And it was so special to share that time with her. And she would always tell these two stories. And she said she didn't have short-term memory, but she did remember things. And the two that she loved to talk about was going in the pyramid and getting healing. She thought, what better place to get healing than being in this pyramid? Like it was amazing to her. And then the other one was when we were in the Isis temple, early morning, private access, doing a past life regression. And it was just such a beautiful, quiet morning inside this temple. And I was leading everybody through this meditation. And she proceeded to fall asleep and snore, and snore, and snore. And everybody just smiled and lovingly, got lulled deeper into whatever we were doing. Everybody on that trip was so supportive of Gwen. They loved her. And I have a couple of people here that were on that trip and really helped me with Gwen because she was still recovering. And I had to you had to just watch because there was times she just needed to go inside or rest or whatever. But Gwen was just really funny all the time. And the funny thing about that trip was one by one, everybody thought she was really funny, but one by one they would come up to me and kind of ask, was she funny like that before the brain surgery? I would start cracking up and I'd be like, yes. She was always weird and funny. That didn't happen as a result. And they're like, oh, okay. But it was so funny because they tried to do it in a way that wasn't, obvious of what they were asking. So it was really awesome. But I feel so grateful that she came on that trip because that was the one time, she lived with me for a while through high school and stuff, but that was the one time that we got to just have quality time together and laugh, of course, and I got to show her this place that I love and share it with her, and she just loved every minute of it and took in all of that healing and all of the love that everybody gave to her as she gave to everyone else. The one thing I will miss is my mom and I lived together, and I would always know when Gwen called because Mom would be laughing hysterically for 2 hours straight. And I'd be like, oh my gosh, how can they laugh like that for 2 hours? Gwen's calling again. And so I really miss not hearing that because she would call probably once a month at least and do that. And then the other day I was thinking I missed that. And then the other day I was walking past my mom's room and she had someone on the speaker. And I said, oh my gosh, that sounds like Gwen. And I was listening, but there was no laughter, but the voice sounded just like Gwen. I was like, is that Gwen? That's weird. And then I didn't know who it was, and then I don't know, my mind went somewhere else and I just went to my room. And then later, Daisy Marie, my oldest sister, said that she had spoken to Mom the other day for 30 minutes. And I was like, oh, that was who that was. Sounded just like Gwen. We all kind of sound the same. So it was really trippy just to hear her voice and think that was Gwen. But I will miss those 2 hours of full-blown, constant laughter. I don't even know how they talk because it was just laughing. So I will miss that, among many other things. So I would like to invite some people up, but I would like to ask Julia if she wants to come up.
Marissa.
Oh, Marissa. Julia just almost had a heart attack. Come up because she said that she had something to say. Come and share anything. Okay. So then, Daisy Marie.
Hello. So we need to close the curtains, boys. So basically, what my sister said, I'm Gwen's oldest sister. I was 14 years old when she was born. I was a freshman at Mercy High School, San Francisco, when Gwen was born. My very first freshman party, Gwen was a newborn, and we passed her around in a circle. Because I hadn't discovered drinking and partying yet at that point, so we just basically sat in a circle with her and passed my baby sister around. I'm thinking back, like, what was I thinking, having a party? We just sat there and passed my baby sister around. But anyway, so there's nothing more that I could say. Gretchen pretty much covered everything else, and you guys know Gwen, you know, in your own specific ways. I will say that I, growing up, had always hated the idea of New York. I thought New York was disgusting. I never had a desire to go there. But then when my daughter Melissa graduated from high school, my mom sent us to Paris for her graduation gift. And so we stopped over for 3 days to visit Gwen in New York. And Gwen totally turned me on to New York. From that moment on, I fell in love with it. And the quick story I'm going to tell you is one night Gwen was living in Chinatown in this, you know, like in the movies, those brick apartment buildings in Chinatown, those old, really old 1800 brick buildings, and then like on the building on the other side, it would be all plywood with spray paint and all that. So that's where Gwen lived, right? And then if you looked out through her bedroom window, across this courtyard was a building where monks lived. So we used to see the monks, you know, like out praying in the back and going up and down the stairs and stuff. And anyway, so one night we're walking to Greenwich Village to go to dinner. And I'm like, okay, so New York's disgusting. So this was many years ago. How many years ago was that? 2006. Yeah. So that was back when New York was disgusting and San Francisco was clean. Well, now it's kind of flipped.
This is before brain tumor.
Yeah, this is way before her brain tumor. So anyway, so we're gonna go to Greenwich Village. It's a walking distance from our apartment. We're walking down the street, and like in New York, they have garbage pickup every day. So there's like garbage bags piled up along the curb, all up and down the street. And we're walking to Greenwich Village, and there's like rats running down the street, and you know the produce market's closing down. You know the Asian produce markets over here are closing down, and the boarded up buildings are across the street. And we're walking, and I'm kind of walking behind Melissa and Gwen. And Gwen's got her flip flops on because that's all she ever wore. She's flip-flopping down the street going, I feel completely safe in New York. I am not afraid of New York. And I'm walking around looking at all the graffiti and the boarded up buildings and the rats, and then all of a sudden some crazy guy across the street's going, I'm gonna kill you, MS! I'm gonna kill you! And Gwen's like, oh yeah, I feel completely safe. Okay, this place is nuts. So anyway, I want to thank you guys for coming, and I know we all love Gwen, and I miss Gwen. She's my baby sister. There's nothing more that anybody to say. I have to say that of all the people that I've ever met in my life, I've never met anyone who's never had anything bad to say about anyone. She always finds a positive spin on everything. She never says anything negative about anybody. Everything has a positive spin, and if it were negative, she just makes a joke or she makes up a jingle about it. So, and you guys know that. So I would like to end by saying I put together a slideshow to show you. I hope it comes out okay. I hope you enjoy it. I just want you to know that there are 4 songs in the show.
Hey, veterans, please give a warm welcome to Gweneviere Mann.
The 4th song is Gwen singing. The 4th song is Gwen, okay?
Well, that was lovely. So I just want to finish with just talking a little bit about grief because we're all going through it. And there's this quote, grief is the price we paid for love, Queen Elizabeth II. So grief is a process. There are no shortcuts to healing. Be gentle with yourself in this process. Don't judge yourself for anything like what you didn't get a chance to say to Gwen, guilt about not spending more time with Gwen, should have, could have, would have. Whatever has run through your mind, it's all normal, but it's not reasonable to beat yourself up over. There's no changing what was. Let's deal with what is now. Remember to breathe often. Know that grief is filling the void of Gwen, but the grief is not Gwen. You wouldn't want to replace grief with Gwen, so let's not. At some point, the goal might be, when we think of Gwen, to have days filled with less tears and heaviness, and instead more happiness and love. Gwen would want that. Gwen wants us to remember her with laughter and love. Let's do our best. So if everybody would just grab a candle off the table and a card. We won't spend too much time on this because I just want to do a little thing to help. You know, Gwen has given so much to us, and I know in this time of grief, it feels like we're like calling for her and beckoning her, and we want to now give back to her and turn the tide of energy back to her instead of receiving more, to give back to her so she can feel free to still be with us, but to lift that grief so it fills you more with Gwen, if that makes sense. So what I want you to do is just fill out that little card. And it can just be a word or just something short, because it's just a way of saying thank you for teaching me or showing me this. It could be love or acceptance or friendship. And in return, I would like to extend to you, it could be like peace, love, whatever you want. And once you do that, can you turn on your light, your candle, to set that intention? And as we turn on each of those beautiful candles, we share the light of Gwen that she has given to us, and we are returning to her. And that's something you can take with yourself just as a little reminder. So it's just turning the energy back to her and giving to her, okay? Gwen's teaching us how to appreciate life and realize how precious our connections and relationships really are. We are blessed to have a special and unique connection with Gwen that lives on as she watches over us and as she loves us even more. It is our job now to continue forth the joy and beauty of Gweneviere's life. So listen up. When thinking of Gwen, we must remember to find the hilarity in life, flourish as much as possible, and feel grateful for every single thing. Gwen would want that for us. So Gwen, thank you for all you have been to each one of us. Our hearts overflow with love for you. And thanks again, everybody, for sharing in this beautiful evening tonight with Gwen. And we would like to, we're going to have food, but we're going to finish with a prayer from my mother's, one of the bishops from my mother's church. He'll do a prayer and a food blessing. And then W. Richard Davis, Bishop, Brother Richard Davis. Is that right? It's in the program.
Okay, bitter end. Please give a warm welcome to Gweneviere Mann.
doggy. Okay, enough of that. No.
One more, because I didn't have it on yet.
Okay.
It was going for your crotch. Look at that tongue.
And then he walks away and he's still like this. Oh my god. But you
It's got a wet spot right there.
Though I'm missing you, I'll find a way to get through. Living without you, 'cause you were my sister, my strength, and my pride. Only God may know why. Still I will get by. Suddenly so fast. How could it be that our sweet memories were beyond all that we have planned? And now that you're gone, every day I go on, but life's just not the same. I'm so empty inside, and my tears I can't hide. But I'll try to face the pain. Though I'm missing you, I'll find a way to get through. Living without you, 'cause you were my sister, my strength, and my pride. Only God may know why. Still I will get
When you're down and troubled, and you need some love and care, and nothing is going right. Close your eyes and think of me, and soon I will be there to brighten up even your darkest night. You just call out my name, and you know wherever I am, I'll come running to see you again. Winter, spring, summer, or fall, all you have to do is call, and I'll be there.
Pork chop, over there, pork chop. Over there.
Yeah, watch out. Look at it.
Over there.
Oh, I gotta stay. He farted.
Really? I can't smell anything.
It smells like hot dogs.
Above you grows dark and full of clouds, and that old north wind begins to blow. Keep your head together and call my name out loud. Soon you'll hear me knocking at your door. You just call out my name, and you know Now ain't it good to know that you've got a friend when people can be so cold? They'll hurt you, yes, and desert you, and take your soul if you let them. Oh, but don't you let them. You just call out my name, and you know wherever I am, I'll come running, running, yeah, yeah, to see you again. Winter, spring, summer, or fall, all you have to do is call, and I'll be there, yes I will. You've got a friend. You've got a friend. Ain't it good to know you've got a friend? Ain't it good to know? Ain't it good to know? Ain't it good to know you've got a friend? Oh yeah, now you've got a friend. Yeah, baby, you've got a friend. Oh yeah, you've got a friend.
A desert road from Vegas to nowhere, someplace better than where you've been. A coffee machine that needs some fixing in a little cafe around the bend. A hard, dry wind blows right through me. Baby's crying and I can't sleep. We both know a change is coming closer, sweet release. I am calling you. Can you hear me? I am calling you. Can't you hear me? I am calling you. A desert road from Vegas to nowhere, someplace better than where you've been.
La 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 la, walking from the dog. I got you on video. Walking from the dog park. Tell me if I'm gonna bump into somebody.
Okay.
Aren't they just the cutest little couple walking in the park on a Sunday morning? Ah, with a little pork chop. Okay.
Can you hear me? Oh,
Look, I see you looking at me and I'm just wondering, are you looking at this? Or this? Or this? Or this or this? Or this? Because there's a lot of things going on here.
I met you on the solstice of a summer day. Your eyes were when I noticed, and I told you I thought they were beautiful. And we danced all night from one place to the next. And I remember wondering what it was like to be your girlfriend. And we shared kisses in the backseat of a cab. And we promised we'd meet again. But in the end you didn't ask how to reach me, but I let it go. How was I to know? And soon you tracked me down, and I'm wishing that you'd stick around. So we stay around, my summer love, my summer love. And when the winter comes